We will be kicking off the formal part of the proceedings this morning at about 10:30, so help yourself to some food. That is t-shirt pickup for all the gold members who have registered. We appreciate that for the pre-registration and signing up for the gold member services. The team can celebrate the past, the present, and the future of triathlon in Canada. Well, this has been a fantastic event. So how about a big round of applause? Ladies and gentlemen, the great Simon Whitfield.
I definitely got into stand-up just because it's cycling without the cars. You can just kind of go anywhere you want and you don't have to worry about pricks in cars. So oh come on, you all know that feeling too. You're all looking at me like, yeah, I know, they're not very nice sometimes. Yeah, I can get out on the lake or in the ocean in Victoria and go explore, and it's a lot of peace and quiet time. I've been learning how to surf, which is fun. I haven't been on a road bike in a year and a half, more maybe.
I think I went through, that was like your last time you were back here. I think we did it together.
I don't have a road bike anymore, which I quite like. And I haven't been for a run other than the beach I don't know, a year maybe. So yeah, I haven't been doing very much triathlon. It's been great.
So that's almost a complete break, and people are often surprised because I know I talk to people and they're going like, "What is he doing?" They think you're still training like a madman. So how is it that transition from where you were at, one of the best triathletes in the world, to what you're doing now? How did you manage mentally and physically that transition?
That's a big question. It's a really difficult transition, actually. You go from 30 odd hours, whatever you want to count it as, of exercise a week, which I didn't realize till later is 30 odd hours of being alone and 30 odd hours of basically what you can call active meditation. I mean, you are actively, you're engaged in something, you're thinking so specifically. You do 10 by a K on the track and you are focused. And to take that away and go to 3 hours a week of casual exercise, chatting with a friend, I paid a big cost for that without really realizing it. And so all of a sudden, when you don't have that opportunity and you don't have an excuse or a reason, or it's not your job, and you've got 2 little kids to chase around, that's a lot less time alone. In fact, that's 1/10 of the time alone, and that's a big transition after 25 years of a lot of alone time, a lot of very concentrated thinking on sport. To go to not having that was difficult. Yeah, very difficult. That's where the stand-up came in. It's a very concentrated amount of time, but you can be alone, which is critically important for a lot of us.
And when you were the age of some of our developmental athletes coming up back in your late teens, early 20s, did you ever imagine that it would go to the level that it did for you?
Yes. So yeah, I don't know, I got into triathlon, I loved it. It's such a wonderful sport, as you know. It's just it's a community sport. It's intense, it requires such dedication, but to learn that early on, and the opportunity the young athletes have now is incredible, to be able to race around the world. And the support that's there, the coaching that's there, the infrastructure that's around them. I will say we have so far to go in terms of high performance athletes and what that really means, what that really encompasses, but Canada's doing a great job, and on a triathlon level, a terrific job. I mean, that team's very strong, both male and female, very, very fast, very good at all three. It's a tough circuit.
It's always evolving very quickly from what I tell, and my sense is it's even different. It's a different sport now in terms of the performance characteristics required to be truly great than it was when you were competing. Is that correct?
They're faster now. I mean, I can't do anything Brownlee can do. I never could. But I don't know, at the end of the day, it's still a 2-hour endurance challenge that requires... I went to Yorkshire and spent 2 days with Alistair and Johnny over Christmas, and you see why they win. It has nothing to do with anything beyond where they came from and how focused they are and how much they think it. In my opinion, success in anything is how much you think about it. And they've been thinking about triathlon since they were competing as 2 brothers since the beginning of time for them. You can add all the science to it, you can add all the talent, you can add all the hard work. The person who is the most, thinks about it the most and the most efficient and focused manner is, I think, is the person who ends up winning.
Does it all at that level? Does it almost become an obsession?
Almost.
Or does it need to be?
Yeah.
Does it need to be?
No, it is.
It's a requirement.
No, it is a requirement. Unfortunately, it's a requirement. But there's not a lot of balance in high performance sport, and if you're looking to go into it and find balance and perform at the highest level in whatever it is you do, whatever category you're in, it takes losing a couple screws. You have to have a couple screws loose to do that. You have to be fairly obsessed. I'm not sure it's the healthiest obsession, but it's what's required. Like I said, if you spend time with the Brownlees and you think you're going to beat the Brownlees, then go spend 2 days with them and ask yourself very seriously, like, do I put in as much as those guys do? Not just time. I mean, like, have I forever put in that much competitiveness? Do I believe in myself in that manner? And am I that focused? Am I willing to make the sacrifices that those two have made to be at the level that they're at? And the same in the women's. I mean, Gwen Jorgensen is wholly committed. I don't know if it's a healthy obsession, but she's wholly committed.
You're a parent of 2 wonderful girls. How many parents have kids in sports? What parents can do and what kids can do about sport and sport development, particularly at the younger age, let's say sub-teenage years. What are your thoughts on that?
One of my goals. Well, my daughters are 7 and 5, so we're not into any competitive sport, and I don't know if they will be. I don't know. They play soccer right now because it's fun. It's a Saturday activity. I coach. I'm terrible. They're terrible. That's good. Oh, they're terrible. I mean, terrible. My daughters are terrible. They're terrible swimmers, which is great too. I mean, terrible as in like they love it.
We were talking about jeans before here.
Well, they have jeans, but they have terrible slacks because they're not good swimmers. No, they're great. I mean, we have so much fun, but we do so much more than just sport. And for me, it's everything with the girls is about 3 things. Well, I guess 4, but it's writing, it's sketching, it's music, and it's sport, and it's an even distribution of all of them. So, I mean, I just want them to enjoy sport and find the same love I have for sport. I'm just a pickup sports junkie. I scored 3 goals the other day at indoor soccer. I don't know if any of you know this, but I'm telling you now. They were really good goals. I even used my left foot at one point, which is a new thing for me playing soccer. So yeah, no, I want my kids to grow up and just have a love of sport.
And you talked about the mental and the physical transition and how stand-up paddleboarding is a good substitute for you. What else are you involving yourself? I know you sort of immersed yourself in business. Mostly, were you making that up?
I made that up. It was an interview and I just had to answer the question. No, yeah, I don't know, business is fun. I like it. I'm involved in a lot of really interesting things. As everybody here knows, trying to make a living with kids or without kids, it's an interesting journey. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the people I work with. I work with a group in Victoria that does what I call vision forward work, for lack of a better term, but they just do a fantastic job of helping people lay out where they're headed, the direction that they're going, and really helping them help me get an understanding of, okay, instead of just what's the next thing I'm doing, and then I'll look up and figure out where I'm going, and then I'll do the next thing, and the next thing is really figuring out where I want to get to. And I don't mean like a year from now, I mean like describing out loud where you want to live in 20 years is a very powerful thing to do. And then working backwards, okay, 3 years before that, if I know in theory where I want to live in 20 years, then 3 years before that I probably need to live, I need to be most of the way there. And then 3 years before that, and then bringing that all the way down to, and this is what I used to do in my triathlon career, was really break it down to 3-month blocks, and then 3-week blocks, and then 3-day blocks. And just keep making it manageable things, but having a really clear intention of where you're going, instead of just kind of heading off into the abyss. I hope I do. I learned that in sport. I'm not sure I could articulate it back then, but through business I've had to.
2 last questions. Best thing ever happened to you in triathlon? Worst thing? Let's start with
the worst thing that ever happened. Even the bad experiences were great experiences. The London crash, it would be easy to say that was the worst experience, but I wouldn't trade that for the world. I don't know, that was not a real worst experience. Being sick, I did a French Iron Tour in 1997. That dates me a little bit because you guys weren't born yet, but it was 8 races in 9 days, so next time you're complaining about wherever you're doing, it was 8 races in 9 days, including 2 Olympic distance over an 8-day period. And all the other teams had these huge, you know, fancy trailers and everything, and Stefan Jacobson from Nanaimo, myself, Frank Clark from Vancouver, and 2 random dudes, one of which turned out to be Rasmus Henning, who went on to be incredible. And he was just a guy that was kind of donated to our team, like, I don't know, here, take the Danish guy. We did really well, and in this 8 races in 9 days, but I got, we swam in Montpellier in the City Hall fountain, round and round and round. And I beat Simon Lessing for the first time ever. And then the next day was violently ill from whatever Dutch I took in. And so I went from the highest high, like, I just beat my hero. I'm 21 years old. I just made money for the first time. He's undefeated in 18 months. I'm the guy that knocked him off, and the next day I'm lying in the mud, shivering and throwing up everywhere, and I came last by 10 minutes. So I went from the highest high to the lowest low. So, yeah.
So was that the best and worst all in 24 hours?
Sure, yeah. That and Lessing wouldn't shake my hand. I went to shake his hand after I beat him. I was like, yes, I beat Simon Lessing. And he was like, no.
For those of you who
he called me a little shit the next race. I swear to God. He did. We were running together, and we went through this little tunnel, and there was no fans anywhere, and he turned to me and he said, look, you little shit. If you sprint me again, there's going to be trouble. And I was like, all right, let's do this.
For those of you who don't know who Simon Lessing was or is, before this Simon, he was generally regarded as the greatest triathlete in the world.
He is. I mean, Alistair and Simon Lessing are the greatest that ever raced. The most talented, the hardest workers, the highest level we've ever seen. If Lessing was racing now, he'd be going head-to-head with Brownlee. He's just that kind of athlete. The sport just changed him at the wrong time for him, and he couldn't accept it. He was an unbelievable athlete, as good as they get.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that with us. Appreciate it. What inspired each of you to get into triathlon? What was the catalyst for you to say, hey, I want to be a triathlete and I want to take this to the next level?
The community and the fun around the sport.
Seeing someone from your hometown winning an Olympic gold medal. My father did race an Ironman when I was 7 years old. And actually, my dad raced that Ironman on a bike in Lock from Simon. And then when he won the Olympics the next year, I was like, my dad has that guy's bike.
My mom competed in the Sydney 2000 Olympics, so I was there experiencing all the hype around the Olympic Games, and seeing the triathlon as its debut there was really an eye-opener, really inspiring.
I love the two sports, the endurance and the competitiveness. I love the gear.
That's one of the great lessons that you and Simon were sharing. It's just opening up the opportunity for kids to be active in any sport.
So Craig, we just heard from some of our currently really great athletes and really what represents the future of triathlon in Canada. How important is it to have this sort of platform from which they can springboard into international competition?
It's critical, but you're trying to facilitate environments where athletes can grow themselves and have their own experiences. The various tiers of international racing certainly help that. We're still really small.
What are some of the key things in terms of sport nutrition that athletes need to be aware of? Talk to us a bit about balance.
It's challenging because on one hand, it's great to have all this new science and to be cutting edge and to try and create something that can allow someone to perform better or more consistently or not get injured. But on the other hand, there is an element of a lot of the old stuff still works. A lot of the Gatorades and bananas and waters are actually the foundation of some really good performance. And some of the greatest athletes that have ever performed on Gatorade, water, and bananas. So the trick is to be aware of cutting edge, to use it as an asset, but not turn it into a crutch, where you've forgotten your fundamentals. And we like Russell Axel, we want the latest headline. And yet fundamentals, as would be the case with your technique or anything in your sport is what will get you to the start line most of the time.
One thing I've been shocked as I came out of my career was looking how dependent I was on people to tell me how my body felt, to tell me how I should train, to tell me how I should adapt, to tell me how I should recover. And if you're the only person you spend all of your time with, you should know. You should know what's going on internally, what's going on from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint, and obviously it's an adaptation. It's something you have to learn. But if you're not paying attention to those details, if you're just taking the nutrition advice and not retaining it, and you're not thinking about the thing I reference now all the time is, what would your 80-year-old self say to you? What would your 80-year-old self, if you could talk to that person, they would say, don't do that. Don't go doing that. That's stupid. I don't want that.
Her question that she really wants to know is, are you going to do an Ironman?
I'm gonna do one with some friends one day. I'm gonna do some Ironman somewhere with my housemate and a bunch of buddies, and we're gonna do the swim together. This is how the race is gonna go. The gun goes off, and then we're gonna wait for a bit. And then I'm gonna turn to Adrian and I'm like, you did not train for this, are you ready? And he's gonna say no, and I'm gonna say, okay, let's go. And then 4 or 5 of us, probably Southie, myself, a bunch of us will do the swim together and kind of stay together. And we're gonna get to the transition, and I'm gonna help them get their stuff together. And then we're gonna go for a 180K bike ride together, and we're gonna draft like crazy. We're gonna draft the whole way. I don't care. And if give me a penalty and make me sit in a booth, then I'm good with that. You can penalize me all you like, and because I scored 3 goals in indoor soccer, so I don't care. And then we're gonna set off on a run together and with glow sticks. And Adrian's gonna suffer, and I'm not. And that's how I'm gonna do an Ironman.
Awesome.
But I'll do one like that. You guys wanna do it with me? Well, I'll go do it together.